Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with the final of these brand new large DopePope dinosaur models. As you can see, we've got ourselves the Kentrosaurus, and I figured I would save this one for last because it's yet again another super cool, very kind of vintage sort of version, but at the same time not quite super vintage. But also you can see it's a little bit different because, you know, with the shoulder spikes, we've got them over the hip region rather than the shoulder area. So again, we've got like that perfect mixture of like vintage as well as stylized with DopePope's own kind of style thrown in. It's an incredible mashup of a very cool Kentrosaurus, and yet again, just like with the others, sports phenomenal detail and a very impressive size. So let's jump to a closer look and we'll check it out from there. So just like we usually do, we will begin up at the head sculpt. So when you take a look at the head sculpt, you can see, first of all, our Kentrosaurus has its mouth in an open position. It's obviously letting out some form of a vocalization. Maybe it's currently being threatened. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't look happy. You can see the tongue sculpted out in there, also in the positioning of it kind of releasing some sort of vocalization. If you try to look inside the mouth, we're probably not going to see too much in there because, first of all, my camera is refusing to focus because it's so small. But, well, the dinosaur's not small, but the inside of the mouth is. But also because the entire thing is in a dark gray tone, so it's already dark to begin with, and then the shadows at play are kind of making it impossible to see in there. But you can see we do have a nice beak for the dinosaur. We also have the nostrils sculpted out there. And if you move back into the face, you can see how good that scale detail looks. Again, we've got all sorts of really nice, really vibrant scale detail and skin texture to this one. As you move up to the top of the head, you can see more of that moving along. You can also kind of get a feel for the skull under the skin right there. You can also see the eyes are sculpted really nicely. We have some creasing there around the eye, and again the skin texture and the minute skin detail looks really good in this. As you move through, you can see like slight wrinkles and folds and stuff moving through the course of the body. As you lead back, you start to pick up the plates here on the back of the dinosaur, which also look really good. They look very sharp and pointy there on the tips, which is definitely nice because you can see this is very clearly an adult model, not something made for kids. But as you move back into the neck area, you can see again more very impressive skin detail, all kinds of creases, as well as a good bit of variation to the sizes of the scales as well as the style of the scales. More skin folds and wrinkling and stuff as you move down here. A little bulkiness to the neck and throat of the dinosaur as well. As we continue to move back here, you can see the plates do grow, of course, in size, and the detail on them is phenomenal. All sorts of kind of cracks and crevices through the course of the plates, and you can also see like some areas where it kind of looks like there's like damage to the plates and everything, you know, like really nice bits of realism that I would absolutely expect to see on a DopePope model. As you move down here, you can see again even more variation to the style and sizes of the scales, and also very large scales, almost like rocky scaling here on the side of the dinosaur. As we move down through the course of the side of the stomach, you can also see a good bit of girth to the dinosaur as well, showing off the fact that it is quite well fed. As we move down here into the front leg, the dinosaur is currently in the position of either walking or just kind of trying to, prepared to defend itself. Kind of looks like the legs are crouched and maybe it's about to swing the tail into action. But moving down, we can get a good idea of the skin texture, the scale detail, as well as, again, the muscle definition of that front leg. You've got the toes sculpted, and you can see the nails as well. Even very nice fine detail within the nails that my camera refuses to focus on for some reason. But as we move up here, again, the plates are filled with all sorts of cracks and crevices, the type of stuff that will definitely be nice for dark washes to crawl in and out of. And as we move back further, we start to pick up the spikes here on the back of the dinosaur, continuing to have that same style of detailing with the cracks and crevices throughout. You also, of course, have the spike here leading out of the hip region. And then as we move down, you can see the skin texture becomes a bit more fine, but still very vibrant as we lead down into the thigh. Obviously a very muscular looking thigh. Leading down, the knee is, of course, sculpted out in the front of the leg. You can kind of make out a calf muscle, but it's not overly defined or anything. And on this side, it actually makes sense for sure that it wouldn't be, because the leg's kind of picking up off of of the ground, so it would be a little bit more at ease. Maybe not so much picking up off of the ground, but it looks like it's kind of not really putting a lot of weight on it. Kind of looks like maybe it's about to take a step. And then you lead down, we've got the foot sculpted again, we've got the nails sculpted, which maybe you can pick out the cracks and crevices within the nails there. Even the foot sculpt has kind of an old school vintage look to it to me. But as we lead out here, again, we've got the tail sculpted, and actually leads upward and also toward the dinosaur's left, kind of again, you know, in my opinion, appearing like it's about to swing in and maybe defend itself. But look at how good and vibrant that scale detail looks on the underside of the tail. And again, all of the variation to the scales. It very much so reminds me, again, of DopePope, of course, but also sort of the way that the scales looked on the Dimetrodon, which is far and away one of my favorite models DopePope has ever created. And if you haven't seen that review, definitely check it out, because it is, of course, live on my channel right now. But as you move along the side of the head on the other side, it looks pretty much the same. Moving back into the neck, you see kind of the same style of detail. The dinosaur does have its head turned a little bit toward its left and slightly tilted, but not enough to make a massive difference in the appearance of the skin or anything on this side compared to the other side. Moving back, the biggest difference is going to be the positioning of the legs, as both legs are closer together on this side, whereas they were a little further apart on the opposing side. We still have that very large bumpy skin texture here in the stomach region of the dinosaur. And then as we lead up, again, the plates look absolutely incredible, as do the spikes as you lead back when it comes to the fine detail. And then, of course, continuing to move through, you can see all of the same type of detail we saw on the first side is present on this side as well. Again, the scale detail continues to look super crisp, and again, tons of variation to that scale detail, becoming much more fine the further down into the underside of the dinosaur you go. And obviously the tail now leads away from us on this side, and then as you move along the underside, the detailing also down here looks really quite nice. So we are now at that point where we've got to get this painted up, so let's get it painted up and we'll check it out when it's done. So here is our finished Kentrosaurus, now fully painted and looking pretty cool. I definitely did not want to go with any sort of flashy coloration for this one. I really wanted to portray that old school kind of dark, and I could almost say boring coloration that we would often see portrayed on dinosaurs and everything. I really wanted that look for it because, you know, honestly, for all of them, I would say when it comes to these, except maybe the Dimetrodon, it kind of did have that coloration, but at the same time, you know, I went a little extra, I think, with the Dimetrodon. But again, I feel like the coloration turned out pretty nice on this, pretty much exactly what I was going for. I didn't really have any inspiration as far as this one goes or anything as far as the way I was painting it. I just knew what I had in my mind, a basic idea as far as how I wanted it to look, and again, just started painting and then saw where it led me, and I'm really quite happy with the final product. But again, you can see as we move around through the course of the figure, you can just see how absolutely incredible the sculpting of DopePope is. Like, that has got to be one of the most highly detailed dinosaur figures I think I've ever seen. And you can see again, as we move along the spikes, you can see the very sharp edges and everything, and how incredibly impressive that looks as well. So overall, again, it is an absolutely gorgeous figure, and I'm pretty darn happy with my paintwork now on it. As far as a size goes for our Kentrosaurus, lengthwise, you are looking at, I would say, about 13.5 inches, or around 34, a little over 34 centimeters. And the highest point would definitely be the tip of the tail. You're looking at about 8.25 inches, or 21 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being next to our massive Kentrosaurus. And you can see that, just like with the other three, it is huge. You know, these DopePope figures are definitely quite gigantic, and there's really not much that's probably going to compare well again with this one, especially since most of the Kentrosaurus I have are fairly small. So we'll just do some more random comparisons. Like here with a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus, which you can see again are a whole lot smaller, as well as the Schleich Diabloceratops and Collect A Deluxe Dimetrodon, also a whole lot smaller. And then when it comes to dinosaur models that I would say are probably like the closest as far as similarity, you know, in size goes, you've got like the larger PNSO vinyl figures. Here we have the Triceratops, which you can see is definitely similar in size, but I think that also helps to show you that these figures, again, are quite huge. And then for one final comparison, we have the Dimetrodon and Kentrosaurus from DopePope here next to each other, just continuing to show you again that these figures definitely have a very large, very impressive size to them. So this DopePope Kentrosaurus is absolutely fantastic. Again, another super cool dinosaur model sculpted by DopePope. I'm really happy to see dinosaurs specifically sculpted by him. He mostly seems to focus on, kaiju, giant monsters, that kind of stuff, but I love seeing dinosaurs, again, sculpted by him. He has done the last dinosaur T-Rex and stuff in the past, but these don't have any actual film inspiration. They're basically just really cool, kind of stylized and also fairly vintage interpretations of dinosaurs, and then of course the Dimetrodon, which is very clearly not a dinosaur. But when it comes to what an old school Kentrosaurus looks like, this is absolutely awesome. I feel like he definitely nailed everything about this, even including the shoulder spikes back there on the hip, which is something again that you would see often on older Kentrosaurus recreations. And the sculpt overall just has such an old school feel to it, which is why I was so happy about these figures, because I love vintage dinosaurs. So to have, especially of a Kentrosaurus, a vintage style version, is just beyond awesome. But as you move through the figure, again, you can see the detailing is absolutely incredible. There's so much when it comes to like the scale detail and variation of sizes to the scales, as well as skin wrinkles and folds and the cracks and crevices and the plates and spikes. Like, there's just so much detail on these. They are far and away some of the most detailed dinosaur models I've ever seen. Of course, the paintwork here was done by me, so you can paint yours up however you would like. I'm pretty happy with the paintwork of mine because I feel like it quite nicely portrays that vintage look like I would expect to see on a dinosaur like this. If I happen to see it in any old school illustrations or something, I would definitely expect it to look very similar to the colors that I've given it. So hopefully it turned out pretty nice. Hopefully it has done the sculpt justice. In the comment section, you'll have to let me know, of course, and if you are in fact interested in grabbing any of these, I will include all of the information in the description for DopePope, his Instagram account, and of course where you can purchase the models and everything like that. So make sure you check those links. Absolutely grab some of these vintage style dinosaurs, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.